Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. I'm Blaine Gilmer, alongside with Jed May and Trent Smallwood. We are the part of the UGA Sports recruiting staff here on UGASports.com. And like we said, very excited to bring another episode. Jed, Trent, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing good, man. Anchored down in Hoover.
Yeah, Jed's over there covering media days. Anything right off the top just stand out to you over there on media days today, Jed, before we
since this is a recruiting show, Shane Beamer basically laid it on pretty hard, saying we want to throw to the tight end, we're going to feature the tight end, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard not to think of Oscar Delp and the push those guys are making for him when you hear stuff like that. But other than that, not really. There's a lot of, defenses are going to be multiple and, all that kind of good stuff.
A lot of coach speak, but yes, Shane Beamer was writing a love letter to Oscar Delp today. Trent, I think you're pretty familiar. What'd you catch out of Beamer's statement today with Delp there? Did you catch any of that?
Oh yeah, there's one thing about coaches in the SEC or all around the country that is they're always recruiting, so they're always doing something to be recruiting, and that was definitely kind of a shot at Georgia at the same time as saying we're going to use you. Come on. So it was definitely all for Oscar Delp there.
No doubt. And we're going to talk about the title of the show today is reactions, decisions, and flips. The first part of that would be in the reactions is that Keon Sab, Sab and Everett go elsewhere. They both end up going to Clemson. It kind of was looking that way for a while. Georgia had a little bit of momentum maybe with each of them after the official visit, kind of that official visit high, if you will, but things kind of tailed off late. Trent, give us a little insight on what you kind of found out on Sab and Everett going down the stretch there.
Sab was, I know I heard a lot of people say that Georgia was in it at the very end, but I don't think they were very much in it at all throughout the process. I think it was Clemson was the team to beat, and Georgia was kind of on the outside looking in through the whole thing. That they did make a late run for Everett. Everett kept things quiet. A lot of people thought he was going to North Carolina to the end. A lot of people thought Georgia made a move. But my sources always down the stretch were telling me that Clemson was the team to beat. North Carolina felt Clemson was the team to beat, and Clemson pulled it out for both of them.
No doubt. Jed, now when it comes to defensive back recruiting, one thing that kind of comes to mind is you had Charlton Warren leave in January, and now Jamil Adai is kind of getting his legs. So, Jed, do you think that's got any impact on this 2022 defensive back class? Maybe some of the guys don't really know Adai that well yet.
Yeah, for sure. And I talked with Marquise Groves-Killebrew at the FCA camp last week, and even he said, he was Georgia's first commit in the class, a guy that obviously the coach Charlton Warren really wanted. And even he said, when Warren left, it gave him a little reason to maybe not consider decommitting, but reason to pause and just say, hey, what's the deal? So if it's a guy like that had been committed for, I want to say maybe 6 months, 7 months at that point, I can only imagine the impact it can have on a guy that's still deciding and all those kind of guys. So it could be one of those things where, recruits are still feeling out Jamil Adai, especially if they weren't being recruited by him at West Virginia.
No doubt. Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May and Trent Smallwood here on the UGA Sports Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts show. Guys, if you aren't already subscribed and hit notifications, go ahead and do that. Tell your friends if they like Georgia football recruiting to tune in each Monday night, because we'll be bringing content each and every Monday night around 8:15. Today, as we did last week, the loyal members of UGAsports.com, they're going to get their questions answered first. We've got a whole host of them that I'm going to be putting up on the screen here in just a minute, but did want to say, okay, so Sab, Everett, gone elsewhere. Georgia has Malachi Starks, Marquise Groves, Killebrew, already committed, and there's another DB committed. I'm losing track of thought there. They got three right now.
Thomas.
What now?
Ja'Cory Thomas.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Thomas out of Orlando. Absolutely, is the most recent commit. So we've got all three of those committed now. Georgia does in this class of 2023. So now we'll see who is next. And based off of that, I wanted to put up this graphic for people watching on the YouTube channel. and we can kind of talk over this, guys. I split it up into guys that are committed elsewhere and guys who are non-committed. I think let's touch on the guys who are non-committed first. Over there on the right-hand side of the screen, you got Kamari Wilson, Dayon Bowie, Jake Pope, and Traquan Fagans. Now, I will put a caveat on this saying that Jake Pope could potentially be committed somewhere because he said he was going to silent commit and not let anybody know and do a public decision later. But let's go through the list here. Kamari Wilson, everybody's thought for a long time Georgia has been out in front, a leader. Trent, what's the kind of latest you're hearing on Kamari right now?
I think Georgia sits well for him. He's supposed to. I think these last visits in July that he takes are going to be play a big role where he goes. But I think Georgia sits in a good position going into into August or into July with him. As far as the other three, the bottom two, I don't think you get either one of them go to Georgia, Pope or Fagans at this point, unless they make a late run at Pope. Bowie's still to be determined. I think there's a lot going on there, so I think that Bowie could be a kid that ends up in this class, but I think it'll be down the road.
And over on the left-hand side there, Jed, we had heard some rumblings about Jaheim Singletary, for a couple of weeks now, maybe saying, okay, Georgia's definitely pursuing him hard, but now we're hearing that if you were on UGASports.com, you would have seen this earlier today, a report that we had that Jaheim Singletary is expected to visit Athens next week. So what does that say to you, Jed, that we're now this late in the process and you've got 4 options over there on that left-hand side that are committed elsewhere, and Jaheim Singletary, Julian Humphrey, Caleb Coley, and even Emory Floyd, who's recently committed to South Carolina earlier this month, that are still kind of in play that Georgia could end up circling around on?
Well, it's always hard because, you look at some kids just, you get 5 official visits. Some kids want to use them all, and so there's always, I guess, that you have to keep in mind when talking about this kind of thing. But I think Singletary, like you said, it's a guy who he wants to be in Athens. He wants to make a trip. He's spoken highly of the coaching staff already. And then you look at Julian Humphrey, who just got an offer from Georgia. I want to say it was maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometime last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think, I think there was maybe rumors of him being in Athens at some point, and he got the offer and he posted pictures and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's some momentum building there. I don't think, at this point, to him being already committed, Georgia would have extended an offer if there wasn't at least some kind of interest there. So you look at those top 2 guys on the committed side there. They're 2 of the top corners in this class. So if Georgia can flip, even one of them and then pair them with, Kamari Wilson, Dayon Bowie, another one of those guys on the uncommitted side, this defensive back class that, some people on the board were saying, oh, we lost Sab and Everett, which was kind of expected all along. But if you get one flip and one of those guys on the uncommitted side, like Kamari Wilson, this defensive back class is looking pretty good.
No doubt. And as we promised here, now we're going to go ahead and get to our questions, and there will be plenty more about the defensive backs, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Also, offensive line stuff coming up here as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put that first one up, and Jed, you're kind of our resident question reader here, so go ahead and hit our number 1 question submitter so far is Mr. Pine Tree.
Yes, certified fresh from Pine Tree. It says, better chance for Singletary or Humphrey at cornerback?
So just talking about those guys, the only reason I'm going to say Humphrey right now is because, one, he's been on campus. He's done he's had the whole experience there in Athens, and that offers come out, and he's not been bashful about kind of promoting what's going on with him in Georgia, whereas Singletary is keeping things much more low key. Trent, is that kind of the feeling you get of those 2?
Yeah, I think you have an ace in the hole out of Singletary. I think, Todd Hartley is excellent at recruiting that area. He's well known in that area, and I think he has great relationships in that area. And I think that's kind of a working in Georgia's favor for him. But yeah, I think the Humphrey kid would probably be just saying who could flip is probably the Humphrey kid, but Singletary is somebody to watch definitely as a late flip that could happen, just under the radar type deal. I think Georgia's just got to continue getting them on campus.
When you say later, you talking more into the season or like right at signing day time, you think?
I was thinking more. He seems like the type of kid that might keep it under the radar until December.
Okay.
You just never know. I don't know much about the Singletary kid. I haven't really spoken to him, but just the way he kind of keeps things quiet in the process, I could just see something going down late in the process with him.
Absolutely. Jed, I'll read this next question because you're kind of our resident expert on one of these players involved here. This is from R. Herschel Walker. Do you see Carlton or CJ Madden and Jacob Hood in this class? So, Jed, you've been following Mr. Hood pretty closely. You've been communicating with him. What is your vibes right now? We're not saying he's putting in a future cast right now, folks. This is not legally binding here with Jed, but we're saying as of now, if it were today, what do you see for Jacob Hood?
It's tough because, and I know this sounds terrible because I'm trying to hedge my bets either way, but it's really tough for Jacob right now because I think talking with him, there's things that stand out about Georgia. He really likes Matt Luke. He likes the pedigree of linemen that Georgia sent to the NFL, but he also really likes the coaching style of Miami offensive line coach Garen Justice. He's kind of a more laid back, kind of not quite the yelling and screaming type, which I think really stands out to Jacob because, that's kind of the same way he is. I know, Blaine, you were at the 5-Star Challenge. You kind of saw Jacob. He's kind of a more mellow, laid back guy. He's not the get in your face and, throw you down after the whistle, all that kind of stuff, like some of the guys we saw there. So I don't know. He does. I don't know. I think it's 50-50 right now with Jacob Hood. He does post a lot of stuff that he gets from Miami on social media. If that means anything, Miami might be pushing for him a little harder at this moment. But, obviously with Addison Nichols and Tyler Booker going elsewhere, Georgia could maybe double its efforts there. So that was a lot of talking basically to say it's the race is too close to call right now.
Boo, Jed. Y'all can send your hate tweets to @JedMay_ right there on that. Trent, Carlton Madden, CJ Madden. What are maybe people? There's some of the people, especially on the UGASports.com vault, that maybe aren't sold on CJ Madden. What are some things I need to know about CJ Madden and that why Georgia is so adamant about him being in this class?
Well, I just think you look at him as he fits this 3-4 scheme very well. He's explosive off the edge. He's kind of what you're looking for. He just reminds me of the top prospect like Azeez Ojulari. He's just kind of flying under the radar for most of his process, and then he's going to shoot up in the rankings towards the end. I don't think he'll ever get to 5-star status, but Azeez Ojulari never got 5-star status, and he passed a bunch of 5 stars on the depth chart. So I just see him as an under the radar type guy that's gonna come in, work hard, and he's got the whole skill set to be outstanding in that 3-4 edge at that jack linebacker position for the Bulldogs.
Absolutely. And one thing people need to, I put out this on the vault the other day. And guys, if you're not a member of the vault, you can use UGA 30, that promo code at any time. You get 30 free day trial over there. So much information coming out. Another recruiting period about to open up. Make sure you do that. But on CJ Madden, guys, people need to realize Azeez Ojulari checked in at the combine 6'2.5", 239 pounds. CJ Madden right now is checking in at 6'4", 240 with an 81 or 82-inch wingspan. This is a player that has all the measurables and is right there. But definitely, I think it's looking good for CJ Madden in that to end up in the Georgia class. Jacob Hood, we're much more on the fence on there. Jed, go ahead and hit our next question there.
Sandbar Bathroom, scary question. How hard are we pushing for Antonio Williams? Haven't heard much on him. Looks like he could be a Jermaine Burton clone.
Well, I'll let Trent and Jed hop in on this in just a second. I will say I've not heard myself nearly as much about Antonio Williams as I have receivers such as Shaz Preston out of Louisiana with a connection he has to Cortez Hankton there. Georgia's going to have to fight hard to get somebody like that out of the state of Louisiana. Even Jaden Gibson as of late, lose their burden trying to flip him. But Trent, I know Antonio Williams is someone that they really like out of Irmo, South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely liked him a couple months ago, I heard a lot more about Antonio Williams as far as Georgia. Recently, there hasn't been much about him. There's been a lot more wide receivers pop up that Georgia's shown interest in. But I'll definitely have to check in on Antonio Williams. I haven't heard that name lately, so yeah, that's definitely interesting because I know that Georgia loved him a couple months ago. So yeah, I'll check back in there.
Absolutely. All right, Jed, hit our next one here.
Oh, this says, how much did UGA's recruiting board really change at camp/in-person evaluations coming off the limited evaluations from last year?
Jed, anybody that sticks out to you right off the bat of guys that I've got one in mind, but what about you in terms of anybody that maybe really popped after those in-person evaluations came around off that COVID recruiting?
I mean, honestly, I think a guy, and this, I might be stealing a name, but a guy like CJ Madden that we just talked about, a guy that you see, coming in and looking like Azeez Ojulari, and I saw him at that 7-on-7 I mentioned earlier, and he's one of those guys where, being a guy that hasn't met a lot of these recruits before, you show up at these camps, like, okay, where's the Georgia target? Where's the guy I'm looking for? And then you look on the field, like, oh, that's the guy that's bigger than everyone else, the middle linebacker. That's who I'm looking for. I think maybe too, a guy I remember talking to was Sam Mbake. He showed up, a really athletic kid. He jumped to 10.7, I think, in the broad jump. That he didn't jump, pun intended, to the top of Georgia's receiver board, thanks to that. But that's a type of thing that gets you on the coach's radar. If he has a big season this fall for North Cobb, that obviously shoots you on the leaderboard. So guys like that, just a chance to get in front of the coaches and, do things that you can't do over Zoom, I think has helped a couple guys like that.
Absolutely. One that stands out to me is Ja'Cory Thomas. Ja'Cory Thomas was really not on anybody's radar that much. I mean, he had some interest early on, maybe in his recruiting process from Georgia, but he's there working out with Jamil Adai. Will Muschamp's kind of there over to the side watching, and all of a sudden Ja'Cory Thomas sees Will Muschamp get out his cell phone, and before you know it, Kirby Smart's down there on the field, and all the kind of stuff It escalated very quickly, as they said on Anchorman. So, it got serious in a hurry, and that's a player that really blew the Georgia staff away. Trent, anybody that's kind of helped themselves out in this evaluation process?
I mean, I don't know about how. I just think the whole defensive line board has shifted a lot, since December, since it all started. A lot of guys that you saw on the projection list, whatever, it is no longer on it, just because of the shift and change of what Georgia wanted or what they saw in person or whatever. I think that the change in or being able to see people in person along with this NIL process is just put a total shift in things. Going back to the offensive line, talking about these offensive linemen, Georgia hasn't had a true freshman really step in and play the last couple of years on the offensive line. They've had 5-star offensive tackles. So if you're a recruit looking at this, knowing that you can have 5-star tackles that are on the depth chart, but they're not starting year one, why are you going to come in and be like, hey, I'm a freshman, talking about this NIL process, I'm not going to be one of the top dogs, so I could go down to Miami, be a top dog, or I could go to somewhere else, be a top dog, and I could really run that NIL process up. It's just that's what I'm looking at as far as it could take and really even out a lot of the playing field on some of this stuff just by that alone.
Oh, no doubt. Here on the UGA Sports YouTube channel, guys, this is Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. We try to answer as many of the questions as our loyal UGAsports.com members submit to us each Monday. And we're kind of going through those right now. Got a few more here from Mr. DeBus. Sorry, I got like a gnat or fly flying around me, guys, so I don't have some kind of, syndrome here or something. I'm just trying to get rid of this gnat in front of my face. But DeBusk 2310, where do you see this class finishing rankings wise? Give a percentage for each on if they end up in our class. Burden, Shaw, Nolan. Thanks in advance for doing the show. DeBusk, we're happy to do it. First of all, let's just rapid fire. We don't have to go into it real quick. If you had to say today where you think ranking wise they'll finish, Trent, Where do you think they finish ranking wise?
I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to bet against Kirby not finishing the top 5. It's just. I think he's going to finish in the top 5. Where at in the top 5, I'm not really sure. I think it's going to depend on if Georgia's able to land the Shaw, the big 5-star guys. But at the end of the day, I think that they're going to land themselves in the top 5, and I think it depends on the play on the big boys is where exactly they'll finish. But I would say somewhere around 3 or 4 right now.
Jed?
Fourth.
Yeah, I like that call, Trent. I think in the 3 to 4 range. I think teams like even Penn State, who the rich may get richer here soon, and Oklahoma and teams like that are really hitting it hard right now. I think that could be teams that'll be hard to catch. But I'm gonna say 3 right now, and then Burden, Shaw, and Nolan. I'll give a percentage of. I'm gonna say Burden, because he's committed elsewhere, 40%. I'm going to say Shaw. I'm going to give Georgia I just think there's momentum there, right now with North Carolina. I'm going to say that they're Georgia 48%. I'm going to give North Carolina 52%. And then I'm going to say Nolan 65%. That's my 3 on those. Jed, what's your percentages on those guys?
Let's see. I'll go Burden 27. Although that goes up with a big passing performance against Clemson and Florida, Auburn, some of the better defenses they're going to face. Shaw, like I said, it seems like Nolan more likely than Shaw right now, so I'll go Shaw at 38.5.
Jed's going low,
and Nolan at 71.4%.
All right, Trent, give your percentages.
Exactly.
I do think that Georgia stands the best chance to land Walter Nolan. I would say, but there's more than 2 teams involved.
Yeah.
So I won't say somewhere around 60%. But I think the Shaw deal is very close. I think it's more, what you said, 48-52, 50-50, somewhere around there. I don't think North Carolina's as confident as they were coming out of that last visit. I think Georgia had a very good visit. I think Trey Scott's done a good job there, and I think that along with Dan Lanning and that bunch right there too. So I don't feel – I'm not going to say Burden. I would say more like 25-30%. But I do think that Shaw and Nolan are very much in play for Georgia right now.
Absolutely. So we got 4 more questions here on our questions, and then we're going to hit 2 commitment announcements we got to try to wrap up the show here before too long. San Diego Dog 1, importance of portal versus high school recruiting. He's saying, is that like 30 to 70%? Is the portal more to fill gaps and pick up late bloomers, things along those nature? So I think, and we can kind of hit this one and kind of move on to another one, but I just think that the portal is specifically by Georgia going to be used as sparingly and as meaningfully as possible. Georgia's not going to be one of these teams that just accumulates bodies to go against their initial counters. That's not going to happen with Georgia. They're going to address in a specific need. They had a George Pickens go down. They went after Eric Gilbert to help solidify the receiving core. They had a need at star. They go out and get Tyke Smith. They had a need at corner, Darren Kendrick. I think that's how Georgia – I can see Georgia, and Trent and Jed, you may tell me if I'm wrong, I can see Georgia utilizing the transfer portal from here on out to address quarterback, because I think that Georgia's quarterbacks at some point, 2 or 3 of them are going to jump ship at some point. I mean, that's going to end up happening as if they keep stacking up these 5 stars. What are your opinions on portal versus high school, guys?
My personal opinion is Georgia knocked it out of the park this year, and you're not going to see that happen every year. First of all, you're not going to see you're coming off a COVID year where players were looking to get elsewhere or come back home or do other things, and I don't think you're going to see that happen again. And but I do think, like you said, they're going to use it to fill needs. They're going to use it to just fill key roster spots. But I don't think you're going to see the 5-star Eric Gilberts, Tyke Smiths. I don't think you're going to see those in there every year. And I definitely don't see Georgia knocking out of the park like that every single season.
No doubt. Jed, I'm going to let you go first on our next question here. This is from Scuffletown Dog, who actually called into the call-in show on Sundays. So if you don't call in on the call-in show, you can submit questions here, but Scuffletown Dog's hitting it both ways. 3 picks, one different from each of us that you believe are possibilities for the 2022 class, and what are your thoughts on how they would perform at Georgia? So, Jed, if you had to nail down a guy that you say is going to end up in Georgia's class, somebody you really like and how you think they'll perform at Georgia, who would you go with?
Let's see. I'll still a guy you're close with playing pick CJ Madden. Just spoke with him this week. He's on my mind. I think I really, when we were talking about him a minute ago, we mentioned the size. I think something too is just his athleticism. He's playing middle linebacker for North Cobb. He's a guy that's really athletic. He uses his speed. That's what he told me his biggest asset was using his speed to get around defenders, or offensive linemen that he's going against. So that's a guy who, if he gets in, especially if he ends up enrolling early, I don't know, Blaine, if he's mentioned that to you or not, but if he enrolls early and has a spring to work with the coaching staff, a guy that, could, especially with all Georgia could lose after this season, an outside linebacker could maybe work his way, maybe not into a starting role per se, but, into a contributing role maybe for 2022, 2023.
Yeah, the one I'm gonna go with is Oscar Delp. I know that Shane Beamer is, trying to, like I said, just spouting love notes to Oscar Delp up there at the SEC Media Days. But I just think Oscar Delp is going to end up being a Georgia Bulldog, and I do believe that Georgia's done enough there to show him how they will use him specifically. And I think one thing that people need to keep we lost Trent there, but one thing that people need to keep in mind is that I think you watch very closely how Eric Gilbert's used, because Oscar Delp's body is going to continue to grow, and Oscar Delp is a extremely gifted route runner and uses his hands real well to catch the football. He doesn't let it get to his body. I think Eric Gilbert is going to be used in a fashion that you're going to see Brock Bowers and Oscar Delp possibly used going forward. So when we get Trent back here, we'll hop back in there on that one. We got 2 questions here, and then we'll get to the decisions coming up. Captain, is it fair to say all these new bells and whistles, state-of-the-art equipment, didn't turn out to be what many thought, with prospects falling all over them and lining up to commit? Still don't see Trent there, but we'll keep trying back on that. So, Jed, what do you think? Is that a fair assessment, saying that the bells and whistles, the new facilities, didn't quite pay off like people thought they would?
I mean, I think the expectation maybe might have been a little too high for these coming into June. I think the expectation of, kids are going to walk in and see this giant weight room and, the buffet, whatever they've got in there. They don't let us media types in there to see it, but I think that the expectation that there would be kids just, silently committing, shaking hands with Kirby Smart as they walked out the door and to get on the plane was a little bit, excessive maybe is the right word. I think that's something that'll build over time. That's something that puts Georgia on par, because you got to think now, the whole reason that there was the push to get this facility done in the first place was to put Georgia on par with the Clemsons and the Alabamas and the, Michigans, Ohio States, whatever. So I think that's something that'll pay off maybe more in the long run, but I think looking at a month and a half span or whatever, it's not that kind of immediate impact maybe move that I think some people thought it would be. And that's not to say that the new facility is not impressive or anything like that. I just think it's not that kind of move.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is. So, Trent, now we're talking about facilities here. And, Jed said maybe there was too high of expectation with these facilities right off the bat. My opinion is that this class of 2022 maybe not as affected by it because they are in such a condensed time frame here to just see all these places. And really, yes, Georgia's facilities are impressive, but there's also Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson, like you said, Jed, that have impressive facilities. I think that one of the biggest things for these facilities that was pitched is phase 2, phase 3 for the classes of 2023, 2024 is where that's going to be a big deal. Trent, what's your opinion of Captain seems to think that our facilities, the University of Georgia's facilities, let down these recruits?
No, I don't think that's much to do with it. I think a lot of it has to do with I think more of it has to do with number one, Georgia's depth that they have at the university right now, and number two is it's coming off the COVID year where you only saw the quarterback play half the season. What's the offense going to look like? I just think there's a lot of uncertainties around the offense at Georgia when it comes to offensive recruits, and I just think it's more so with what they have, that they're playing on the field, et cetera, more so than the facilities.
Absolutely. Last question we have here, and then we'll get to the Branson Robinson and Dennis Sutton decisions that are coming up. So this question is from D. Scotch here. Besides Singletary and Burden, who are potential flip candidates? Well, I'm going to go ahead and put that graphic back up that we had on the defensive line or on the defensive secondary here. In terms of Caleb Coley is a name out of Vanderbilt who could very well make his way up to Athens next week. Will Muschamp has offered Caleb Coley. He did so not long after Clemson offered Caleb Coley. This is a 3-star out of Houston County, and there's a lot of connections to Georgia and Houston County, one Jake Fromm being included. And, there's lots of ways for information to make its way from Houston County to Georgia. So Caleb Coley is a guy who's very, very physical, someone that is a high caliber athlete that just hasn't done a lot of the camps and prospect camps and things like that. So, and then Emory Floyd. Trent, you've seen Emory Floyd, kind of over time here. What is your opinion of Emory Floyd and kind of his progression as a player?
I think he's a very good center field type safety. Can play in the box. He can do a little bit of everything. He could come down and play the star position if you needed. I think Georgia does have a few higher guys on the board than Floyd, and I think that was the reason why initially the push wasn't as hard as it could have been. But he is a guy that you could see be pushed for later in the process if they do miss on a couple other guys.
No doubt. I would talk to Emory at the 5-star challenge, and he said really it came down to him for South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Those were the 3. A lot of people thought Auburn was getting in the mix, but Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida were the 3. South Carolina pushed the hardest. He ends up going there. He did tell me that he played free safety, like you said, all of last year, Trent. He said that he's transitioning because every college pretty much has told him that he's going to be a slot corner, a nickel corner, that star money type position there for Georgia, depending on the personnel package. So those are the potentials for the flips, guys. Those are all of our questions. But now we're going to hit 2 big commitment decisions we got coming up on July 22nd here. The first one being Mr. Branson Robinson. And we're going to play some of his highlights here just kind of as we talk, just so you can see the powerful player that Branson Robinson is. And guys, when I'm playing Huddle over this StreamYard, it may hop a little bit on you, but you can still see the results here out of the running back from Germantown High School in Madison, Mississippi. So Trent, just if you had to give everybody a scouting report of, okay, here's what makes Branson Robinson so special, what are some things that come to mind as we're watching his highlights here on the YouTube channel?
His jump cut is just amazing. It just reminds me of the Nick Chubb jump cut, the way it doesn't look like he's always moving fast, but he's always making guys miss. I mean, he is just has the ability to run you over or take it 70 yards, and that's just the Todd Gurley, the Nick Chubb, just the running back what they built themselves on. I just think he would be excellent in this offense, especially them going more of a spread type offense to get that Nick Chubb and all those guys ran with that extra guy in the box because they want the passing threat they are now, and I think that could open up a lot more stuff for Branson, and he does have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield too. So he would just be an outstanding player. Just continue that tradition for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, one thing that impresses me about Branson Robinson, as when I coached running backs in high school, you were always looking for that running back that could make movements, like you said, laterally and make cuts, but keep their shoulders square to the line of scrimmage. Because if they're keeping their shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, they're able to see their head is lined up with their shoulder. They're able to see those openings, make those split-second decisions. And I think Branson Robinson does that quite well. And of course, he has the speed to go along with that. Jed, it certainly looks like Georgia is well positioned to bring in Branson Robinson. And I think you had even mentioned that, he's been pretty public about that, right, Jed?
Yeah, this is, we talked on air or before we got on air, and it just seems like this is one of those commitments that has seemed like Georgia's been in front for a while. Alabama has been in there. He got that last official visit into Tennessee, and Tennessee people kind of thought that might have been making a charge there, but it's kind of seemed like it's been Georgia for a while now. Going back to what Trent said, he kind of even body type wise to me, he looks a little like Nick Chubb. Just I don't know. He just looks like the guy to me. Just the balance and like you said, the way he cuts and moves, and it's another guy that it's like Trent. You mentioned it's RBU. It's the type of guy that they look for, the sort of complete package. And if he does end up committing, then it'll be the latest in that string of backs that goes back to 20. I guess to Todd Gurley. Goes all the way back to Todd Gurley, like you mentioned, Trent.
Yeah, so, that's coming up on the 22nd. Also, another decision that's coming up on the 22nd. So that one may be more favorable to Georgia. This next one, we'll talk about it right here, but it's Deny Dennis Sutton. And I did get that taught to me by his high school head coach. It is pronounced Deny. I was saying Danny here in my redneck, Georgia accent here, but it's not Danny. It's Deny Dennis Sutton, and we're going to play some of it. This is actually highlights from his sophomore year because he didn't have many junior highlights listed here. Maybe in some COVID stuff going on up there in the Maryland area that prevented him from getting a lot of stuff on film. Who knows? But Deny Dennis Sutton, a powerful edge guy. He played a lot with his hand in the dirt up there at his high school in Maryland. Actually Deny himself lives in Delaware, but boards at a school in Maryland. So Trent, you're kind of most familiar with this situation. What's kind of the latest with Deny going into his decision here?
It seemed like, coming off the visits that Georgia really made a big run here, even led for a little bit, that Georgia was selling him on that jack position. He became really close with Dan Lanning. As he went home and, over the last couple of weeks, I think it swung more towards Penn State. I think I would, I even put a prediction in for Penn State last night. I just think that he's been more familiar with Penn State in this process. Penn State's been kind of the team ever since the beginning, and Georgia kind of came in, stole the thunder, even was the leader there for a little bit. But I think he stays with Penn State and commits to them. Yeah,
so maybe a tale of two highs and lows there for Georgia on the 22nd as things move along here. We love answering all these questions for you guys. Make sure that if you like the content that's coming out, and we've got, I believe 98 people in here right now. So it seems like a lot of Georgia fans in here. Just hit the 100 mark. So make sure to hit the like button, all 100 of you that are in there. That really helps us out a lot. Leave your comments. What we're going to try to do is as comments come in, we're of course going to answer our UGASports.com members first, but as comments come in like this one right here from DB, we'll throw this one in here to kind of end things off. Could you guys talk more about Jake Pope's abilities? The offers don't exactly seem to match the ranking, but the kid must have game. I've been saying this for a long time now. If you are allowed, because these guys control who's taking official visits. It's not like a kid we can say, oh, I would like to sign up for an official visit at Alabama, or I would like to sign up for an official visit at UGA. This isn't rec ball where mommy and daddy can get you in somewhere. You have to have the chops to be able to do so. And Alabama, Georgia, he took 2 unofficials, but that's only because he said I live right up the road and I could go. So I was going to let the officials pay for places I'd have to travel further to. So Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, North Carolina. When you've got those programs wanting you to come take official visits, Trent, you're a primetime player.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think Jake is one of those guys that have benefited from teams being able to see him in camp. We talked about that earlier. I think he is the guy that you're going to see his ranking start to rise because nobody knew much about him until all this this COVID stuff got over with. Teams started being able to get these kids in camps and see these kids, and I think Jake's really shot up the radar on some of these guys, and even he took some visits for camps before he started taking these official visits, and that's the main reason he got invited on these official visits. And I think you're going to see him commit to a big time school. I think Georgia. I honestly, I think Georgia should push harder here. I think Georgia should push to get him on an official visit, but he might be committed to another school before Georgia's able to get him on campus.
And the last thing that I kind of take, and then we'll kind of leave everybody with this and let Jed get some sleep for, going to get in front of Kirby. Jed is going to just ask Kirby the toughest questions possible tomorrow. So if you want to get influence what question Jed is going to ask Kirby, you need to @JedMay_ on Twitter. Just hit it, just inundate him, throw it out there. But anyways, guys, we're gonna I wanted to point out this last thing with the 2 prospects of CJ Madden and Jake Pope committing silently and then not announcing till later. I do think, Trent, that there's room for teams to say, okay, well, they haven't told us, he hasn't told us that he's silently committed to us. An Alabama could say, or a Notre Dame could say, or in CJ Madden's case, an Ole Miss could say, or Georgia could say that. So maybe we need to push harder. That could be, there could be a window for opportunity. Is there not?
Oh, definitely. I think it could be one of those cases where it's like, hey, hold off your public commitment until we can get you on campus in September for a game or something like that. So, and I think Georgia, as far as Pope, I think that could be a situation where that's what you say because he's right down the road from you. He's less than 50, 60 miles from your campus. So, I think if Georgia wants to pursue that, I think that is the avenue they need to take and just say, hold off on that just for a minute. Let us pitch what we got for you, and we'll see if that happens.
Jed, before we go here, tell everybody anything coming up here on UGASports.com they need to be looking out for.
We had the updated prospect cheat sheet that went out this morning. It seemed like a big hit 2 weeks ago when we ran it, but it's kind of updated, reflecting, some guys in, some guys out. We're going to keep that coming for y'all I think the plan is every couple of weeks and kind of alternate that with the prospect leaderboard that came out last week. So be sure to give that a look, and be back here same time, same place next week.
And I did want to drop the last little thing here, the kind of the brain trust of this deal, Roddy Nabulsi, the one who's kind of driving behind the scenes here, telling everybody, some ideas and things like that. He's pitched the idea of, if we get to a certain amount of likes on YouTube on a recruiting show, which we won't do it everyone, but we'll announce which one we're going to do it to. We get to a certain amount of likes, one of our recruiting analysts will make a future cast live on the program. I'll put it on the screen. We'll show you somebody making a future cast. So that's how we'll go from there. Guys, thank you so much for joining this episode of Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Fact. And we will be back with you next Monday, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. And don't miss it. We'll catch you next time.